temple and the royal court. Even the city's name is an indication of how important Buddhism is. Luang Prabang means Royal City of the Sacred Statue. In Laos, every village and every urban district has its own Buddhist temples. Even the poorest villages have at least a wooden hut for worshipping the Buddha. Temples serve as both gathering places where religious services are held and as cultural and education centers. Some of them even house schools where monks are taught to make statues. At one such school, it's hard to find a monk without tools in his hands.
Because UNESCO เขาเจ้าให้ความสนใจเกี่ยวกับวัดวาอารามหลวงพระบางของพวกเราเพราะว่าหลวงพระบางเขาเป็นเมืองมรดกทางด้านวัฒนธรรมธรรมศาสตร์เมื่อว่าหลวงพระบางเขาเป็นเมืองมรดกเนาะทางด้านวัฒนธรรมธรรมศาสตร์และพิธีของประเพณีวัฒนธรรมพวกเราจะแบ่งออกเป็น2อย่างวัฒนธรรมทางด้านวัตถุและวัฒนธรรมทางด้านจิตใจ
As in other Buddhist countries, in Laos the men are expected to spend a period of their lives serving as monks at a temple. Usually this lasts for several months. At the very least, it must be a couple of days. Parents, when a new baby is born, ask a temple to name it. The monks will also hang a necklace with a tiny icon around the baby's neck. Once the baby has learned to walk, he will accompany his parents when they take alms to the temple. At the age of about 5, a boy will be sent to a temple as a novice monk. There he will study the Buddhist sutras as well as English, French and other subjects. If at the age of 20 he is still at the temple, he will become a full monk. A man, by joining the temple, is believed to accumulate merit for himself and his family. Having served at a temple, he will be valued and esteemed by society. For a Lao man, joining a temple and serving as a monk is like going to school, in that he's educated and matures there. It's said there can be no greater regret for a Lao man in life than never being a monk. At dawn every day, the streets of Luang Prabang are filled with monks asking for alms. At daybreak, the monks in their saffron robes are like a brightly coloured ribbon winding from one street to the next. People wait for the monks from various temples ready to hand over glutinous rice, rice dumplings and other food. The history of almsgiving in Luang Prabang dates back to the very earliest days when the city was founded. For the monks, the alms they receive every morning are the only food they will have that day. Begging for alms is part of their cultivation. They get up at 4 o'clock, go to the temple to chant sutras, and by 6 o'clock they're in the street ready to accept alms. They eat only 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch, and no dinner. At any other time of the day, apart from the morning almsgiving, monks can be seen throughout Luang Prabang. Their life is not as detached from that of lay people as might be imagined. The younger monks spare time from their religious cultivation to attend school. At their temples, the monks lead a life that is quite similar to that of lay people, chatting, reading and cleaning. But in one important aspect, they spend their time differently, and that is when they are carving statues. The statues are perhaps the most representative form of Buddhist art. At the temple school, the sound of tools working on wood can be heard all day long. The monks here express their worship of the Buddha through their devotion to carving the statues.
There is a school for monks in Laos where they spend their time carving religious statues. Amid the sounds of chipping and chiseling, a sense of peace and optimism prevails. The center of this timeless art is a place known as the Royal City of the Sacred Statue.
It's commonly said to visitors that if they can visit only one place in Laos, it should be Luang Prabang. As an ancient city, it was the capital of the kingdom of Lan Xang. It lies on a peninsula formed by the Mekong and Nam Khan rivers and is encircled by mountains. Successive kings established their capitals here. With its unique Buddhist culture, its ethnic charm, and its unrivaled history, Luang Prabang is probably the most fascinating city in Laos.
根据澜沧纪年的记载，澜沧王国的开国之君呢，名字叫法昂。这个法昂呢，传说他生下来的时候有33颗牙齿，所以呢，被周围的人们呢视作不祥之兆。在他年幼的时候呢，他的父亲因为这个王位争夺失利，所以带着他呢就逃亡到国外。辗转飘零了1年，年轻的法昂呢就流落到了这个吴哥王国，被吴哥王国的国王所收留。他长大了以后呢，提出来呢向这个吴哥王国的国王借兵来收复自己的国土，因为呢吴哥王国的国王非常喜欢他，所以就答应了他的这个要求。同时呢，吴哥王国的国王呢也把自己的女儿娘乔乐公主许配给他。在1349年的时候，法昂呢就带着从吴哥借来的这个军队来攻击原来这个篡位的叔父。他的叔父呢同他交战了3次，都败北了，所以最后呢就服毒自杀。那么法昂呢重新回到了自己的故土，建立了这个澜沧王国。
In the year 1353, King Fa Ngum established the capital of his new kingdom at Muang Swa, which is today's Luang Prabang. In 1356, the Khmer king in Angkor sent a gift of a gold statue of the Buddha to Fa Ngum as part of his daughter's dowry. It was the famous Pra Bang statue. In 1560, when King Set Thatharat moved the capital to Vientiane, he changed the name Muang Swa to Phra Nakhon Luang Prabang, meaning Royal City of the sacred stone. At the end of the 19th century, Laos was reduced to a colony of France, but the misfortune of its colonial past is tempered by its legacy. This is evident in Luang Prabang, where its oriental charm and Buddhist traditions are complemented by a French appreciation of leisure. This successful melding of two distinct cultures is a product of a lesson learnt by the people of Laos, that acquiescing to outside influences can be the secret to survival. The city has an old district as well as a relatively new one. The old district lies at the point where the Mekong and Nam Khan rivers meet. It's a charming area where large expanses of green trees set off the ancient temples, the colonial-style houses, and the tall pagodas. There are no high-rise buildings or modern traffic here. The residents continue the traditional Luang Prabang lifestyle. However, the influence of Buddhism has created a rich artistic legacy seen in the architecture, paintings, and carvings. This cultural prosperity, a product of the religious devotion of the men of this country, is also admired by many outsiders. In one temple that's famous for the statues it makes, there's one particular monk who stands out from the rest.
So, what's your name?
My name is Kenneth Yarborough. Kenneth
Yarborough.
Yes.
Where from?
I'm from the United States.
United States.
In Arizona.
Arizona. Good. But why did you come here for studying sculpture?
Well, I came to study Buddhism. It was a good time for me to come. My children are all grown. My parents, unfortunately, have passed on. I'm retired from the university. And so it was a good time to dedicate myself to something other.
In Laos, there are few options when it comes to career choice. Jobs in the civil service are very hard to come by, even for graduates. Some university graduates instead go into the tourism industry or into business, with timber and car trading the most common options. Even so, job opportunities fall a long way short of demand. One of the most useful qualifications when looking for a job is an education at a temple school. A monk's education is sponsored by the state and is recognized as part of the national curriculum. According to regulations introduced in January 1964, a monk's education is divided into 3 levels. The first is the primary level. This covers 3 years of elementary and 3 years of advanced elementary schooling, equivalent to the national primary school education. The second is the secondary level, lasting 4 years and equivalent to junior middle school. The third is the tertiary level, equivalent to senior middle school and lasting 3 years. These 3 levels of education are in line with the national curriculum. However, in most cases, monks have already completed 3 years at elementary primary school before joining a temple, so they will begin with the advanced primary education. Primary and secondary school education in Laos are the responsibility of the Department of Religious Affairs under the Education Ministry, while advanced Buddhist education is the responsibility of the ministry itself. A monk, after he completes his education, will receive a graduation certificate issued by either the Department of Religious Affairs or the Ministry of Education, depending on which administer his school. A monk who completes his advanced Buddhist education will be granted the respectful title Maha. In Laos, a novice monk is free to return to secular life of his own accord. However, a monk who has completed an advanced education in Buddhism is expected to serve at a temple for at least 2 years before returning to secular life. and having completed his Buddhist education, he qualifies to study at a state university.
那他是希望他现在在上大学，他是希望他大学之后是去继续找工作，还是他觉得希望能够做和尚好一些？
คนถ้ามามีความบ้านคือยังเห็น มีความบ้านคือยังเห็นไปเห็นโตที่มหาลัยแล้วก็คือสมมติว่าคือไปยังมีก็บ่แม่นให้สมเพาะว่าหาลัยคือยังเห็นโตแล้วมีความบ้านคือไปคันถ้าว่าเห็นโตหั่นนะว่าเห็นโตหลังจากว่าเห็นจบแล้วจะไปเห็นนางจิตเป็นผาโตบ่หรือว่าสิประกอบอาชีพข้างนอกหรือว่าสร้างครอบครัวอะไรนั่นก็ให้มีความบ้างการที่ความบ้าง
ตามทัศนะของมันไว้เถอะมีช่องทางเลือกทีนี้ไว้กำลังเรียนดูวิทยาลัยมานิบัติไว้เรียนภาษาอังกฤษบางเทื่อท่านถ้าค่อยจบท่านบางเทื่อก็จะสิไปซ้อเฮ็ดเวียกเฮ็ดบางเทื่อก็สิบวชเลยบวชเลยไปเรียนต่อไทยต่อ
他有两种选择嘛。现在是他在那个上英文课，在一个日本他们开的学校。他有目标就是，如果他毕业以后，可能他也要书院，然后就可以去找工作。另一方面，如果不可以，他就是继续当和尚，然后就可以到泰国到那个方面去培训去做那个。
There is a school for monks in Laos where they spend their time carving religious statues. Amid the sounds of chipping and chiseling, a sense of peace and optimism prevails. The center of this timeless art is a place known as the Royal City of the Sacred Statue.
Another option chosen by many Lao people is religious education at home. Anyone who does this is called a lay Buddhist. A male lay Buddhist wears robes and a woman a white jacket and straight skirt. These lay Buddhists are popularly known as white monks. Every aspect of a believer's life is heavily influenced by Buddhism. In this quiet, peaceful ancient town, saffron robes can be seen everywhere. Before Buddhism reached Laos, its people were Hindus or pagans. Buddhism failed to make much impact when it first arrived, but Fa Ngum, who united Laos and founded the Kingdom of Lan Xang in the mid-14th century, was married to a Khmer princess who was a devout Buddhist. She was horrified when she arrived in the kingdom to see officials and ordinary people worshipping spirits and pagan gods and performing animal and even human sacrifices. She pleaded with King Fa Ngum to encourage the spread of Theravada Buddhism.
法王王呢应允了这个请求，于是就派出了一个使节团，带着礼物，来到吴哥王国，去请他这个岳父，也就是当时的哲耶跋摩9世国王，来帮助吴哥王国改宗小乘佛教。吴哥王国的国王呢也答应了这个要求，就派出了2位很有名的高僧，带着3位这个通晓巴利3藏的佛学家，另外呢有20名僧侣组成一个僧团，跟着这个法王王的使节回到老挝，在老挝这个地方传扬佛法。在1359年的时候，法王王就正式奠定这个小乘佛教为整个澜沧王国的国教。
The arrival of Buddhism heralded a blossoming of the arts in Laos. Lao arts are first and foremost Buddhist in their nature. The country's temples are filled with delicate sculptures and religious artifacts. Some also have frescoes and wall carvings relating episodes from the history of Buddhism. Foremost among the Buddhist arts of Laos are the religious statues. The golden age of statue carving in Laos was the period from the 16th to the 18th century. The statues are particularly vivid, and the depictions of the bodhisattvas are highly original, with heads that have hooked noses, long earlobes and curly hair.
Well, this is a statue of the Buddha in meditation. It will be. So he is sitting in the lotus position, and his right hand is here, and he is doing meditation. There's different poses that the Buddha can do. You see, here's one pose, and in this one he's calling forth the rain. There's some where he's touching earth. There's some where he's asking for peace. There's some where he's embracing the world. This one he's in meditation.
Wood carving is a traditional art in Laos, and the highest form of this art is the carved Buddhist statue. The focus of artistic wood carving in Laos is almost exclusively Buddhist statues, although carvings of traditional gods are also produced. For 1,000 years, Luang Prabang, the small city hidden among mountains beside the Mekong River, has withstood the ravages of war and modernization. Shunning the hustle and bustle of secular life, it has maintained its air of religious tranquility and peace. Remarkably, the city's entire cultural heritage has survived unscathed. Unspoilt and little changed, it stands as a symbol of the human yearning for permanence. Some say it is the final paradise for dreamers. Others call it the city where time stands still. Ancient and beautiful, Luang Prabang is a jewel watched over by the Buddha.
The Forbidden City in the east and the Louvre in the west, geographically they're far apart, and yet there's much that draws them together. Both are leading museums, and both started out as royal residences. But what else do these famous palaces and their collections of treasures have in common? And what can they teach us about the great civilizations of the past? Find out in a major new series, When the Louvre Meets the Forbidden City.
เพราะว่ายูเนสโกเขาเจ้าให้ความสนใจเกี่ยวกับวัดวาอารามหลวงพระบางของพวกเราเพราะว่าหลวงพระบางเขาเป็นเมืองมรดกทางด้านวัฒนธรรมธรรมชาติเมื่อว่าหลวงพระบางเขาเป็นเมืองมรดกเนาะทางด้านวัฒนธรรมธรรมชาติและพิธีของประเพณีวัฒนธรรมพวกเราจะแบ่งออกเป็นสองอย่างวัฒนธรรมทางด้าน
For worshipping the Buddha. Temples serve as both gathering places where religious services are held and as cultural and education centers. Some of them even house schools where monks are taught to make statues. At one such school, it's hard to find a monk without tools in his hands. He will accompany his parents when they take alms to the temple. At the age of about 5, a boy will be sent to a temple as a novice monk. There he will study the Buddhist sutras as well as English, French and other subjects. If at the age of 20 he is still at the temple, he will become a full monk. As in other Buddhist countries, in Laos the men are expected to spend a period of their lives serving as monks at a temple. Usually This lasts for several months. At the very least, it must be a couple of days. Parents, when a new baby is born, ask a temple to name it. The monks will also hang a necklace with a tiny icon around the baby's neck. Once the baby has learned to walk, the temple and the royal court. Even the city's name is an indication of how important Buddhism is. Luang Prabang means Royal City of the Sacred Statue. In Laos, every village and every urban district has its own Buddhist temples. Even the poorest villages have at least a wooden hut